Hey guys, it's Bro You Whack, and with the Florida Mayhem winning the Overwatch League Grand Finals a couple of days ago, marks the end of the 6th season for the Overwatch League, and possibly the final season of the Overwatch League. And with the official Overwatch League Twitter page tweeting out the next day that they are looking to revitalize their esports program, it leads a lot of people to believe that this could be the end of the franchise Overwatch League model that we know of today, but could possibly birth a new future for Overwatch esports as a whole. But that's why you saw so many doom and gloom posts, and even so, having a speech that was a closeout speech that was way different than the previous 5 grand finals, because it kind of seemed like, hey, we don't know what the future holds, but we kind of know what the future holds because this might be the end. But then here came the Overwatch League with the post that kind of gave a light at the end of the tunnel, like, wait, maybe it's not Jover, maybe this isn't the end of the Overwatch League. And before we talk about the future of the Overwatch League and Overwatch esports, I want you to comment down below what you want to see happen to Overwatch esports. Do you want to see the Overwatch League continue, or do you want to see something done completely different than with the current franchise model that we've seen for the past 6 years? Because I know there's a lot of people that love the Overwatch League because it's a similar model of how traditional sports have been marketed to us for literally decades. The NFL, the MLB, the NBA, you know, so many sports franchises are ran similar to the Overwatch League franchises. But the difference between the Overwatch League and those traditional sports leagues is that those traditional sports leagues actually make money, and a substantial amount of money. And that's ultimately the biggest reason why these Overwatch teams, but possibly the Overwatch League as a whole, could be folding after this season, is because, simply put, they're just not making enough money, and the investors that gave them the money to not only start up these teams, but run these teams are tired of burning money, and they're looking to pull out. And unlike your father, there's already 2 teams that are probably going to be doing this, where one has already done it, the Chengdu Hunters and the LA Gladiators. You see, with the Hunters, it was very easy to understand why they weren't going to compete this year. It's because they didn't submit a roster after the deadline, which means that they couldn't play the season if they didn't have players to play for the team. And I think it's because they decided, hey, we're not making any money, we're gonna be folding real quick here. And with LA Gladiators, while they didn't necessarily fold like the Chengdu Hunters, they basically ran on a skeleton organization, having a minimum amount of employees run all their esports ventures. The Guard, which is the parent company, and most notably their Valorant team, the LA Gorillas, which is the COD team, and then the LA Gladiators, which is their Overwatch League team. And now that I look more into it, seems like the Guangzhou Charge have also been running on a skeleton model where they only have 5 players and a coach. But while all these teams have slightly different situations, it's all due to the same problem that every team, not just Overwatch teams, but every esports team is facing. And it's because they're not making enough money. But especially Overwatch League, they're probably making the least money from all esports ventures. But why? You see, the original vision of the Overwatch League was supposed to take on the same thing that's happening with the MLB, the NFL, and the NBA right now, which is getting massive TV deals to be able to broadcast their games online and through the sale of merchandise. And I mean, that's why these teams represent these different cities, is because if someone lives in New York and if they root for the Yankees, well, here comes the NBA with the New York Knicks, they're going to become a fan of them. Here comes the NFL, here comes the New York Giants for you to root for, here comes the Overwatch League, here comes the New York Excelsior to root for. It's just another sports team for you to root for years on end. And then you watch these teams, you get invested with these teams, you become depressed with these teams, especially Yankees fans, because you just missed the playoffs this year. And then you spend money on the merchandise. You see these brand deals being broadcasted on their games, and that's how these teams make their money. That's how the league makes money, and it's just how the ecosystem is ran. That's how the league was going to succeed. And then here came 2020, where all these teams went to their respective cities, but then tournaments were going to be held, and then they all flew to Atlanta, had a very successful tournament, and then COVID happened, and that put a damper on everybody's lives, but especially a travel business model such as the Overwatch League. That definitely put a damper on them. You see, each team was supposed to hold 2 in real life tournaments in each city, and teams were going to travel each and every single week. And while that would have been a logistic nightmare, it probably would have been the biggest decider if the league truly would have been successful, is because, well, if this is ran like the NFL, it could possibly succeed like the NFL. But because that never happened, it really left TV deals, i.e. a YouTube deal, and sponsorships to really make these teams money. But when people aren't really watching the Overwatch League for for whatever the reason could be, these brands don't really want to advertise on these teams, and that means that these teams aren't really going to want to invest in their teams any further because, well, they're not making them any money. But they spent $20 million on the slots, so let's just either run it at a minimum rate or see what happens. What happens is a new agreement being proposed by the Overwatch League, probably being discussed as we speak. You see, it was announced earlier this year that the Overwatch League was willing to pay out any team that decides to fold $6 million. Like, the league would pay a team to leave the league for $6 million. And that's why so many people assume that the Overwatch League would be done, is because, well, what person, let alone a team that is burning millions of dollars, not want to take in $6 million and bounce? And that's why you saw so many people sad at this year's grand finals, is because this could possibly be the final one. But that's the key word, is it could be. And the only reason why a team wouldn't do that is because, well, they invested $20 million. Let's just try to stick it out, and hopefully down the road we make our money. And that could happen, because could you imagine telling the LA Lakers or the New York Yankees or the Dallas Cowboys when they first started, hey, you're not making any money, you should just bounce. You'd look like an idiot now. But these owners could look like an even bigger idiot if they continue to let these teams run in the red and burn money on the off chance that their Overwatch team slot could be worth $50 million, $100 million, $1 billion down the road. But that's the chance that investors take. They spend $20 million to possibly make $100 million down the road, and that's why they were willing to burn money. But eventually, these investors want to see their money come back in one way or another. And after 6 years, when they haven't seen any money coming back in, they could see that $6 million and be like, you better take that and give it to me, boy. And especially when you see the Chengdu Hunters fold and the LA Gladiators owner basically say that they no longer want to be in esports anymore. And even when you see other esports teams that own Overwatch League teams, such as the Florida Mayhem or Misfits, that had a slot in the League of Legends European League, sell their slot, don't you think they would easily do that for $6 million for their Overwatch team? I know they just won a championship, but at the end of the day, they're still trying to run a business. And after being with the Florida Mayhem, where I see that they're shifting their focus more to content rather than esports, that would be an easy payout that they'd be willing to take, even if they just won the grand finals. But hey, I'm not with the team. I don't know what's going on there. I'm sure Vast and everyone out there can have a different opinion on what's happening. I'm just somebody who's looking from the outside. That's all I'm doing. Look, at this rate, anything is possible, and it's all dependent on that agreement. And here's my thoughts on what's going to happen and the outcome for the Overwatch League with an actual positive outlook. I'm sure the biggest thing that the Overwatch League wants these teams to agree upon is in real life tournaments, because not only is that the biggest money maker, but that's how you make a lifetime fan that continues to invest their own money and their emotions in these franchises. And for teams like especially the Toronto Defiant, who's already held 2 in real life tournaments, but like the San Francisco Shock and the New York Excelsior or the Seoul Dynasty and the Seoul Infernal, who either have a giant fan base that could easily sell an arena, or they're just in a giant market like the New York Excelsior that could still bring in a lot of people because, well, it's in a city with 8 million people. Yeah, they could see profit down the road when it comes to in real life tournaments, but especially making lifetime fans. But for teams like the LA Valiant, who don't even operate in the United States, and especially the Chinese teams where they can't even broadcast their games to their fans, I could see them taking that $6 million, walking away, because, well, we're not really invested in our team, so why would our fans be invested? And that's just one singular thing of a million things that they gotta agree upon, like signing bonuses for players and housing and travel logistics and content output. Like, there's so much that needs to be improved on the league that I'm sure this agreement is gonna force these teams to comply with. And if they don't, okay, here's $6 million, bye, you lost $14 million, but so what, bye-bye. But we could also see teams just full-on rebrand to a different city that could have more fans. We already saw that with the Philadelphia Fusion into the Seoul Infernal, but we could see that with the Dallas Fuel, where they don't even play in Dallas and they operate in South Korea, so they could possibly rebrand to like the Busan Bears. That'd be dumb, but it's a possibility. Look, anything is possible with that agreement. And with $6 million on the table, it kind of leads a lot of people to believe that the Overwatch League is done, and that's why you saw so many gloom posts. But I don't think a lot of the teams will just take that $6 million because of not only how much they invested already, but the possibility. Like, stuff like this takes time, and while we've been saying that for 6 years, I think it's still possible the league could grow as long as Overwatch 2 is handled better. And I don't know if that's gonna happen, so maybe the Overwatch League is officially done. But let me know what you think is gonna happen with the league itself. But I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. More Overwatch 2 videos do come, and bye.